Hello, everybody. This is Frogman, and welcome back to Satisfactory. Last episode, we started work on a major project that is going to be some of the end-game stuff that we're going to be playing with, and that is going to be able to be making enough points in our awesome sinks to be able to make, to be able to buy all of the cool little trophies and what is left in the awesome shop. And also, we're going to need to be able to use some of the parts we're making in this area to complete the last part of phase 4. So we're kind of working towards the end at this point, so either end for both directions. And I'm back over here where we started last episode, or kind of spoke about last episode, is because again I want to kind of reiterate what we're doing and why, because this is kind of a it's a simple, easy kind of a process, but you got to have to understand what you're doing when you're messing around with things, because there are multiple ways of building certain things. For what it's worth, that rubber one down on the bottom would probably be marginally better on us. It'd be a little bit easier to make a few things, but the one above that requires an awful lot of, well, simple, easy to get stuff, at least where we are. Those 104 screws are not hard to make, but they're more of a pain than you think they are to make at times. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. But again, last episode we did all of the work to get the encased industrial beams, the steel pipe, and the concrete, these strings that we need in order to be able to run 7 of these manufacturers at slightly overclocked, so just slightly over, so we have even, nice, simple numbers that this just makes easier sense to me, so that we can just kind of work this out simply. Now, the next step today, hopefully by the end of today, we're going to be making heavy modular frames. By the end of today, we're going to be heavy modular frame crafting and stuffing those things into an awesome sink so that we can start working on the next big project. And hello, autosave. Oh, we are getting to the point where the autosaves are starting to take a long time. Oh, whatever. Anyhow, so we're talking about that little discussion. The problem was going to be what we were going to use as far as crafting the reinforced iron plates that we need in order to be able to make those modular frames. Now, we're going to go with the alternate recipe number 1, which is going to be, well, I should say, excuse me, alternate recipe number 2, which is going to be using the reinforced iron plates and some of the steel pipe that we're making in order to be able to make stuff. So the big discussion was deciding whether or not to use one particular alternate recipe over the other when it comes to the reinforced iron plates. So in base, we're doing the stitched iron plate, and that requires an awful lot of wire, and we have plenty of wire and we have plenty of other things to make it work there. The thought would be, wrong one. The thought that we're going to work and we're going to be working with is we're going to be working with this recipe, which is going to technically use a little bit less materials depending on how you build it. The reason why I'm going to use it is because we still have plenty of leftover coal and iron ore to be able to make the screws with. So we're going to use the, is it in here, this recipe right here, screws, alternate steel screws, where you take a steel beam, and one steel beam makes 260 per minute of screws. We're just going to go ahead and use this recipe because in reality it takes an awful lot of quite a bit less machines to do this recipe than it will to do the other recipe. However, if you're looking to try to save on materials, I highly suggest you make this recipe doing the 1 into 4 here. This is another one of those things. If you're doing the solid steel recipe like we're using in the foundry, where we're taking, can I make this? I don't know. Can I? No, I can't. They're over there. Basically, what we're doing is we're taking 40 iron ingots and we're turning them into 60 steel. So that means we're adding material to steel that we're already getting. And then here, once again, we're quadrupling what we get out here as far as the iron rod production is concerned. And then if you click again on the regular base recipe, it's 1 rod into 1 screw, which means you're again quadrupling your screw count by the time you get to the end of it. So technically, you get to make a whole heck of a lot more screws per each steel ingot than what we're going to use. So the reason why I state that is if I decide I need to make steel beams, it's 4 steel ingots into 1 steel beam. So we're reducing it, but then we're going to kick it back up again to make an awful lot of steel screws. Anyhow, so we already talked about that. We've already got it sorted. Again, the beauty of this recipe is it's literally, I mean, you can see it right there. It's one of these machines per one of these assemblers to make the screws. And it's, you know, going to be a little over that as far as things go. And we're going to actually kind of run it over a little bit because I'm going to be overclocking a couple of these just a little bit. So we've got the math sorted. We've got a few things sitting out, and we're going to have to figure out, well, we're not going to have to figure out a single thing. I don't know what I'm talking about today. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to go over there to where the mess of the new chunks of the factory is, and we're going to go take a look at all the work that I've done. So I guess we take a zip and we see what we get. Alrighty, and then we do the yoop, and we get to fly over some of the newer, well, more of the stuff that we have stretched out, so we can kind of start over in this corner over here where we are making screws. So I changed my mind slightly as to the general idea of where I wanted everything in the factory. Can I build one of these things? Where is it? It's an organization lookout tower. Can you go right here so we can kind of see up and around and over everything? I know I could have climbed the ladder and then flew around it, but whatever. Okay, that's a little better. So there's a steel node, excuse me. There is a coal node behind that rock, right by this little summer sloop, right over there. That is a pure coal node, which means you can get a full 780 belt off of that coal node, which can then be used to kind of work with a bunch of the iron over here. There are two impure nodes and two normal nodes right here, right close to where we're going to be at, and this is literally all I'm going to need right here, this little section right there, in order to be able to make 260 times 3 screws per minute, or a full 780 belt plus extra. That's it. That's all it takes. So just a little bit of iron, a little bit of coal, and a little bit of just messing around. So the beauty of this is, if we need to, again, make more of any of this stuff, we decide that 20 is not enough, I'm building it so we can stack this stuff. So if I want to, I can copy this whole thing, move it up a couple of wall spaces, set it back down, splitter out both of these two things, add a couple of these power shards in in that machine. This one's got a long time before it can get used up. But in reality, what's really nice about this is if we come over here, it takes 40 iron, so this one's slightly overclocked, 40 iron to make 40 iron ingots that then get put into a single what is this thing called? Foundry, that is then going to take the 40 iron ingots and 40 coal and mix that into 60 steel, which is then converted into the steel beams, which are just chilling here because we're not really using anything. Then because of the fact that we're overproducing by quite a ways, I went ahead and put 3 machines down. So technically that one right there can run these 3 machines, and these 3 machines can way overpopulate that belt. And I just did it for the fun of it, mainly because of the fact we're going to have the excess, we can do it. So that's screws done and dusted. They're pretty simple, pretty easy. It's a really simple, easy process, and like I said, this is tileable. You just copy it, move it up one, do it again, copy it, move it up one, do it again, and just feed stuff into it, and you'll keep ending up with more belts. Now the more the more of that you need, again, the uglier and crazier this is going to get, because theoretically we're making way more right here than that belt can handle. I'm not worried about it right now. We don't need any more than that, but when we do decide we want to go a little bit vertically, or if we decide we want to, we can definitely do a little bit of adjustment to that. So the next step is going to be all the way the heck over there. And I think actually here we can use this. So, because of the fact we're going to need to make a whole lot of iron plates for those reinforced iron plates, right over here there's a couple of impure iron nodes that if you just give them a little bit of a kick, so like actually I don't even know why we have them 300. I think the number was more like 150 something, but we'll do that for right now. I just did that so that they'd fill up. They don't need to have that many power shards in them. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take 10 smelters, and we're going to overclock 2 of them to just slightly over what we need, or slightly over what the other ones would be. So it's just slightly over. We need to actually make 6 more ingots per run out of this mess than, you know, anything else. So essentially you overclock a little bit of those, kick a couple of these up so that they're evenly split. I went ahead and split them even though I didn't really need to. And then again, we got all that fun stuff hooked up, run into a belt that runs over into this line, and it is plugged into 10 of these constructors that are, of course, making iron ingots and iron plates. This one right here is taking up the extra slack, making that extra 6. Whip that, don't do that. Extra 6 plates. So again, it's just a kind of, at this point, it's a 1-to-1 to 1-to-1. I think actually the numbers are kind of a little different. We're going to have to fool with these as we go. Some of this is going to need a little bit more tuning because I think I'm probably going to have to add at least 1 more layer of pipe up there. Just depends. I think my numbers were off, but we're going to let it run and see what happens. So all of that is then plumbed into just a couple, and this is the cool thing, just a couple of assemblers that are making the reinforced iron plates. That's how powerful this screw recipe is, because we went from having to need, well, like 15 or 16 of these things, 10 or something like that. And then if you do the iron rod, well, like say the iron wire over there, it's a massive amount of constructors. It's just a massive amount of constructors because that recipe requires something like 200 or 300 wire per minute. So it'll be like 7 of these or 10 of these, and then like, I don't know, a dozen constructors just to get that to work. So again, at this point, we're saving a little bit on power right now, and we're actually gonna, well, we're gonna use up a little bit of material to save on power. So we haven't hit anywhere near where we need to be. We're getting pretty close to being, well, we're a little over close to 10,000 from where our head limit is, but the base is consistently running right around 17 to 1800 or to 18,000 megawatts, or what is that, 18 gigawatts or whatever it is. So we're doing all right. We still have lots of headroom. Everything is functional. So from this little area right here, we move over to this little area where we are making the regular modular frames. And the regular modular frames, because we have so much steel capable here, we're using the steel modular frame recipe, which allows us to just run 7 of these. So it's 7 into 7 manufacturers. And I guess I can get rid of you. You're not being used. So I've let everything run, and I guess we can get rid of that guy now. We don't need him. And I don't need that wire or that wire or that wire or that. And that, and then I'll change the rest of this stuff up. So what I did is I extended the smart splitter out to right here so that this technically is kind of, we're kind of letting this run fairly slowly. This is going to be after the rest of the system over there, and actually I think I need to change that now that we have adjusted a few things. So let me see. You need to be overflow. You need to be any. That way that make sure that this is full. This is a very slow process. It doesn't need a whole lot of stuff, and we're making like 34 of those things a minute. That's it. It's ridiculous. It's not a whole lot. 34 or 38 or something like that. It's not a whole lot of stuff. So I did go ahead and run the cement down and kind of rejigged this corner a little bit from where we were before. This is probably going to be fairly temporary because I think I may run the cement around the other side just to, I don't know, clean it up. But we now have a nice pathway to run down through over to the area where I have laid out all the manufacturers that we're going to need to do the work. So they're already mostly set up. All we need to go do is, first off, we need to put our other thing on, and we need to go over there and, well, belt it all in. So hooray. As it sits now, we've left quite a bit of iron. I was planning on, you know, needing this iron and, well, needing that limestone. And if we do, we will. I mean, we can go grab it later on, but we're actually not too terribly bad as far as things go. So let's see. You guys should all be programmed. Again, programmed with the stuff in them. All I need to do is go ahead and wire them in, and I hope that my critter is going to work today. So let's check. Okay, we're checked. We're going to go ahead and use the quick cheaty way for the moment just because I really don't feel like fixing this problem. But if I'm careful when I line this up about right there, if I put it right on that line and we do this, when it's time to fix the problem. How many is that? 6, 7, 8, 7. Bang. All right, cool. Now, I'm going to go clean this up, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so the fun part is going to be we got to get all of this stuff from here. All of that stuff. We have to take these two belts and recombine them. I actually think I need to, yeah, we've already got that sorted. Okay, so let me grab a little bit of a foundation here just so that we can get these straight with each other. Yes. That is not the right one. We need this one. Yeah, all right, cool. We can always kind of fix stuff as you kind of work. If you know, it's not the greatest thing to have to do in the world, but we'll start with this. So I'm just going to pull this up, and we're going to pull these. We're going to do a couple of these on camera, and then I'm going to go ahead and just sort it out. But the thing is I got to be careful about what we're doing. Some of this is going to require a little bit more adjustment. Some of it's going to require us to do some more work. Some of us, it's just the way things are. So we're going to put the concrete in on the bottom. Get it, well, the concrete, the that in here. All right, you guys are gonna go to there, and then what I need to do again is we're gonna need to do like this, and then this, and something kind of like, I guess I could go get some electricity and make my life a little easier, huh? Does that make a nice corner? Yes, it does. And then we have to come down here, and we'll start with the two that I know I need to want to buffer for a while. The pipe, everything's going to have to buffer regardless, but we're going to have to combine these two. Although what I may do is just stick them in one of these somewhere, like slap a merger on one and one run around the other. Because the one on the bottom, we've filtered off just about everything. I think there's about 74 left on it. So what I'll probably do is we'll take this, run it around the corner. We'll run this one in and like merge it right here somewhere. I don't know. So we'll figure it out. We'll do this. And that, we need that to get to running. Whoa, because it's a lot of concrete. I love the fact that concrete stacks at 500. It's going to take for utterly ever for that to get anywhere. So let me go ahead and hook the rest of this up, I guess. And, well, like I said, I think what we'll do here is you can become... Well, we'll do it like that, I think. You are going to go up one and around one, and then that'll hook up into there. And then what I'll do with this is I'll stick it, I'll like run it over and then hook it in, so it'll be the next one here. We've started to buffer, that's good. And then that one will go here, there, there. And then we'll have to upgrade some of that belt. Oh, I didn't want that belt. No, 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 no. I want that belt, and that belt can stay that way. Because we still need an awful lot of steel to do this. Put about right there, I suppose. And then you're gonna go up there, which means you're gonna hate me because you're gonna have to go like way high. Why is that? We're not using that. Oh, I must have screwed up. That's like, yeah, I did screw up. Love it. All right, you to there, and can you make it? No, so we'll have to do a that. And I may come back and add like a lift tower to this just because it'd look a little better, but anyhow, let's see. Anyhow, you guys get the idea. I'm gonna sort this out. Well, I suppose we're gonna do this for now because I think I have a spot over here somewhere that I can, well, do the thing. But with that being said, once all of this takes off, once those things all buffer up, we should be making somewhere about 20, what did I say, 21 of these per minute. So let's see how that all goes. As long as everything starts flowing correctly, which is going to take a while. There we go. We're going to have a long wait on that concrete. I may end up going and getting all of that concrete that's in the box over there and putting it in these machines because it'll take forever for them to buffer up. Especially the first one. So let me go do that real quick. We'll let the system run, but we're making heavy modular frames, and you should see the first one in a minute or two. So the main reason why I do this when you have the excess is because concrete or anything that stacks to over like 100 can take a really long time to buffer up into a machine. So when you have something like concrete that stacks to 500, sometimes it helps the system out a little bit if you just go ahead and at least take the tallest stacks and buffer them up as much as you can. Can you just use the thing up there? Thank you very much. We should have plenty of concrete to do this. Okay. And okay, so that'll at least get that sorted. The rest of this stuff, again, it's like 10 per, 22 per. These are already buffered. These are going to buffer to 100. Those will buffer to 200. I mean, I guess I could put this in here. Everything that we have left over here that we don't need, we will likely be running into an awesome sink. So anything I guess I can stuff in these now and get them to eat it up, I might as well do it. Buffered, and buffered, and lookout tower, right there. All right, and then we sit here and we watch things work. So I went ahead and stuck that one in right there just so that it could kind of do the little bit of the work, and then we just kind of see what happens. So that takes the entirety of all this process. I don't think anything else is left out here plugged into an awesome sink. So once all of this stuff sucks out, sorts out, gets itself straight and ready to go, we will be making a reasonable amount of those things per minute. And that reasonable amount, granted right now probably won't be making a massive amount of points, but it should, well, relatively make a decent amount of points, at least for now. Granted, we still have the entirety of base behind us making all the work, but I believe these things, even just these right now, are worth like 100 and something per piece, so 100 and some odd thing per ticket. So if we're making 20, we're making 200, well, you know, however that goes, 100,000, so it's like 2 million, not a million, whatever. It doesn't really matter at the numbers, doesn't really matter at the math at this point, because this is just going to be step, well, one of making a lot more. Plus, like I said, we need a lot of these in order to be able to make a reasonable amount of those nuclear pastas. A nuclear pasta is probably going to force us to get into a lot more power generation. I've not made up my mind up just yet, but at least, well, there's an awful lot of decorating and prettying I can do. And with that autosave, I'm going to say thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one, where we're going to start working on radio control units. And that's going to happen way over there. Bye, guys.